For the entire history of the NBA, the league's front office has shared one massive secret fear: a giant who couldn't be controlled. Every time a historically dominant big man entered the league, the NBA literally changed the rulebook to stop them. They widened the paint to push George Mikan away from the rim. They changed free throw rules because of Wilt Chamberlain. They completely legalized zone defense just to slow down Shaquille O'Neal. For the last 15 years, the league pushed the pace and space era, practically banning heavy, dominant centers in favor of quick shooting guards. The system was finally safe. The Giants were supposed to be extinct, but then Victor Wembanyama landed in San Antonio and completely broke the game's source code. He is doing exactly what the NBA spent decades trying to ban, merging the unguardable size of a mythological giant with the elite perimeter skills of a modern point guard. His wingspan shatters the geometry of the court, his defensive presence is terrifying, and his offensive bag is something that shouldn't physically exist. Today we are diving deep into how Victor Wembanyama is exploiting the very rules the NBA created to stop players like him. And trust me, the panic happening behind closed doors in opposing front offices is completely justified. What we are witnessing isn't just a great rookie or a rising star, it is an extinction-level event for traditional basketball strategy. When scouts first started evaluating Wembanyama, they struggled to find a true player comparison. In the modern NBA, defensive rules dictate that you give up certain shots to protect the paint. You rotate, you close out, and you live with the results. But Victor completely destroys the mathematical formulas that every analytics department relies on. When you are 7'4" with an 8-foot wingspan, the concept of a safe pass or an open shot ceases to exist. Opposing players are experiencing something that hasn't been seen since the peak of the Shaq era: pure, unadulterated fear. The NBA tried to ban defensive dominance by giving offensive players more freedom, eliminating hand-checking and rewarding shooters. But Wemby doesn't need to hand-check. He can recover from 10 feet away and block a jump shot with his elbow. He is weaponizing the modern, spaced-out floor. Because the paint is so open, his massive strides allow him to cover more ground defensively than any player in the history of the sport. He essentially proved that if you make a player big enough and fast enough, all the rules designed to help the offense suddenly become irrelevant. It's the kind of psychological warfare that fundamentally changes how opposing teams run their entire playbook. Of course, you cannot talk about Victor's game-breaking nature without addressing what he does on the offensive end. For a decade, the NBA's ultimate weapon was small ball. Teams realized that if they put 5 shooters on the floor, traditional centers would be played off the court. It was an unofficial ban on the traditional big man: evolve and shoot, or go play overseas. Wembanyama took that philosophy and turned it into a nightmare. Defenses have no idea how to match up with him. If you put a traditional center on him, Victor simply steps back and drains a 30-foot three-pointer off the dribble. If you try to use the NBA's favorite modern strategy and put a smaller, quicker wing defender on him, he simply shoots right over the top of their head as if they aren't even in the arena. He has found the ultimate loophole in the modern NBA ecosystem. He adopted the skills of the guards who tried to make big men extinct and fused them into a frame that cannot be contested. For the rest of the league, this isn't just a matchup problem. It is a structural crisis. When you have a player who forces opposing coaches to completely scrap their defensive identities, you are looking at a walking cheat code. To truly appreciate the terror Wemby is inflicting on the league, you have to look at a metric that fantasy basketball players call stocks: steals and blocks combined. Historically, the NBA's rule changes made it incredibly difficult for one player to completely anchor a defense without getting into foul trouble. But Victor's defensive instincts are so unnatural that he is routinely putting up numbers that look like typos. He isn't just protecting the rim, he is actively hunting the ball. By combining the lateral quickness to steal perimeter passes with the length to erase shots at the apex, he is doing exactly what the league hoped would never happen again. He is single-handedly dictating the pace of the game strictly through defensive intimidation. Players are literally changing their shot arcs, missing layups because they are looking over their shoulders, and completely abandoning the paint when he is lurking. He silenced any doubts about his physical durability by proving that he doesn't have to absorb contact to dominate. He just has to exist in the airspace above the rim. For the legends who built their legacies on defense, Victor didn't just meet the hype. He completely shattered the ceiling of what defensive impact looks like in the 21st century. But the absolute peak of validation didn't come from analysts, advanced metrics, or rookie ladders. It came directly from the greatest players to ever walk the earth. Long before Victor even played his first official NBA game, the ultimate stamp of approval was already placed on his shoulders. When asked about Wembanyama, LeBron James refused to call him a unicorn. He stated that unicorns have been seen before, but Victor is an alien. Kevin Durant, a player who essentially created the archetype of the 7-foot shooter, openly admitted that the league was in absolute trouble. In the NBA hierarchy, getting crowned by the current kings of the sport is the ultimate trump card. The fact that legendary superstars felt compelled to publicly warn the rest of the basketball world tells you everything you need to know. Once the defining icons of this era give you their blessing, the debates end, the doubters are silenced, and your arrival is certified as historic. When LeBron James calls you an extraterrestrial threat to the game, your legacy begins before you even lace up your sneakers. The arrival of Victor Wembanyama changed everything for the NBA. He is no longer just a viral prospect from France. He is a player who holds the power to completely rewrite the rulebook of modern basketball. He forced superstars, legendary coaches, and the entire analytics community to recognize him as a completely unique generational anomaly. The basketball world thought they had designed a system that banned players like him, and he responded by making that system look obsolete. We are witnessing an era where the physical and technical boundaries of the sport are being stretched to absolute extremes. It makes you wonder how the league will possibly adapt to a player who has no historical precedent. The geometry of the game has shifted, and Victor Wembanyama is the architect of this terrifying new reality. What do you guys think? Is Victor Wembanyama the most unstoppable rookie in the history of the NBA? Or do you think teams will eventually figure out a way to exploit his slim frame in the playoffs? Let's get a debate going in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into NBA history, make sure to drop a like. Hit that subscribe button and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, keep watching the courts because in today's NBA, the impossible is happening right in front of our eyes. Stay obsessed with the game and I'll see you guys on the next deep dive.